Out of the depths unknown, the spark of life ignites and we are born. We enter a world, a universe not of our making. Our lives unfold in mystery and wonder. Questions abound for which there are no definite answers, and so we gather in community to seek in one another assurance and recognition, compassion and strength. We gather in community to be reminded of what is most ultimate and what is most sacred in this spirit of searching and of reverence. Let us worship together this morning. Those opening words by the Reverend Joan Javier Duval. And I'm going to ask you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing twice through our opening song, number 389, gathered here. Would you remain standing, please, for the chalice lighting and the doxology? Would our chalice lighters come forward, please?
Let this flame be to us a symbol of the wholeness we seek.
Its brightness dispelling gloom, lighting a path to faith and hope.
Its glowing reminds us of the sacred bonds that link us to all living things.
Its radiance calling us to cast the light of freedom, justice, and peace upon the whole world. Please be seated. Good morning and welcome to First Parish Church. I am the Reverend Susan Milner. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and it is my honor and my increasing pleasure to serve as interim minister to this historic congregation. We gratefully acknowledge the Patuxet Wampanoag people on whose ancestral lands we gather today. We commit to support and honor their history and culture. We warmly welcome all of you, members, friends, visitors, newcomers today, whoever you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, whatever your age. For this 1 hour, we want you to feel part of this congregation and to know that we are glad to have you here. Everyone is invited to coffee hour following the service in the assembly hall. And to get there, you go through this door, through the parlor, and down the hall to my left, all the way to the large room. And if you are visiting and you want to, and at coffee hour, take a red mug so that we can try to offer you a particularly warm First Parish greeting. We have a couple of announcements today. First, Carrie Myers, I think you have one.
Good morning. I want to thank all of you who chose a Christmas tag yesterday. We still have several left, and I would very much appreciate some of you could choose a tag on your way to the coffee hour. The tags are for Christmas presents for boys and girls that we help through the Box Project each month by providing food and clothing for the family. They are families in great need, and they will very, very much appreciate the gift. You just choose the tag, buy and wrap the present, put the tag on the present, and bring it to church by or on next Sunday. Thank you.
And Jim Hamilton has an announcement, but first I'm going to insert myself, and because I know Jim is going to issue a thank you, but I want to thank Jim for chairing the effort for the fantastic holiday fair yesterday. So Jim, you deserve a lot of credit.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, the energy yesterday at the church was just fantastic, and it's made up of so many volunteers who make that happen. And I'm not going to mention individuals by name because I'd certainly forget somebody, but I do kind of want to go around the church just to talk about what I saw yesterday. We had Santa Claus out on the front lawn, and if you do not believe in the magic of Christmas, you got to be Santa sometime, because I saw some incredible exchanges between Santa and little kids, and it was incredible. As we go in, we get to Ruby's Cafe. And Ruby's Cafe, you know, it's like the smells of the holiday fair are what really are amazing to me. And the food was incredible. One of the greatest things I heard about Ruby's Cafe, someone came out and said, I had a great lunch. I wish Ruby's Cafe was open every day. And I know the volunteers kind of go, oh my God, the effort to put that together is incredible. Thank you. You go around the corner, speaking of food, to the bake table, they sold out like everything. I think there was one little bag of cookies at the end. And I will admit that I had apple pie for breakfast today, and it was delicious. You go around, and then we have I always come up with the wrong term for it, but the oyster shells that are beautifully decorated in an area that we started giving them other things to sell, and they gladly accepted them. Someone came up with the idea of putting birdseed in wine bottles and selling them. That's out of the box thinking. That is great. And we made money on that. The whole Mrs. Kringle's area, if you want a giant sparkly cone-shaped Christmas tree, you can find it there. You can find, Santas and nutcrackers and everything. They do a lot with whatever comes in. The Greens group, the Greens people, it's like Santa's workshop down here for an entire week. They do incredible work, and little advertisement here, there are wreaths still for sale. So after church or at the workshop, have a look. You can still get a great wreath or a table arrangement. Silent auction. I made the mistake of doing a 30-second countdown at the end of the silent auction. The energy in there was incredible, but note to self, next year it's only going to be a 10-second countdown. All right? One of the unsung groups is our financial people, taking cash, doing credit cards. You see them, they're not selling things, but they're making it happen. I think one of the real touching things for me, Carrie, you saw people taking tags through the fair. People come and look. Now there are more tags to take, so right outside the office door, look for them there. But it's really heartwarming to see people do that as well. Trying to make sure I haven't forgotten anybody. Breakdown, setup, a lot of work. Let's just say one small part, take everything out of that room, bring it in here, then find out that there's a practice for a choir event that's happening at 4 o'clock today. We got to move it around here so they have the room to do that. We got to move it all the way back in, put it in the same places that it was before. Anyway, I'm taking a lot of time, but the only thing I want to stress here is the volunteers who put this together did an incredible job. Everybody's looking for a number. The number is approximately $8,500. Now, I don't have the individual breakdowns, but we'll have them soon. I know all of the different areas want to know what that is. I don't have that yet. We'll have it very soon. So, thank you.
I wonder if some of our young in age or young in spirit would want to come down here and sit for a bit, just for a few minutes, and then we're going to let you go. I want to tell you about somebody today. I was just going to do this with everybody and use slides, but your technologically challenged interim minister could not get the slideshow to Dustin, so have to do this old school. Oh, there are a lot of you. That's right. I want to tell you about somebody this morning and show you just a very few pictures to go with the story. The story, it's a true story, and it's about a man named Snowflake Bentley. Isn't that an odd name, Snowflake Bentley? His real name was Wilson Bentley, but he became known as Snowflake for a reason that we'll talk about. And I want to stop just for a second and ask you, have you ever seen a snowflake? Did you ever try to catch one? What happened? You're kidding, what? They melt, exactly. They touch your warm skin and they melt. Well, Snowflake Bentley, who lived over 150 years ago, this is a very grainy picture of him, but you can tell how long ago he lived. This is him with his camera. He was part of a farming family in Jericho, Vermont, and whereas most farmers dreaded winter, because I've actually lived in Vermont in the winter, it's very, very cold. But he looked forward, Wilson Bentley looked forward to winter because he loved snowflakes. He just loved them. He was fascinated by them. And he would try to catch them. He would catch them on black velvet. He would work in a cold room at the back of his farmhouse. And he would try to draw pictures of the snowflakes, but he couldn't get good pictures because why? They would melt before he could do that. And it was very frustrating for him. But then one day he read about a camera that would take photographs through a microscope. And guess what? He had a microscope that his mother had gotten him. And so they could, can you stay? It's the lure of snowflakes. So they convinced his father to get one of these cameras, and Wilson worked for years then to perfect a way to catch those snowflakes and work very quickly and photograph them. And he was the first person we know of to photograph snowflakes. And his photographs were so good that nobody bothered for nearly 100 years to try to take any more. He took the first ones in 1865, the year the Civil War ended. That was 158 years ago. And this is one of his photographs of several of the snowflakes. But look at this one of one individual snowflake. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing that he could take that picture? And that's what the snowflake looked like. Isn't that cool? And here's another one that has part of two snowflakes. And you know what he discovered? He took over during his life, he took over 400 photographs of snowflakes. And guess what? Not any of them were like the others. Every single one was different. Have you heard that about snowflakes, that each one is different? And it seems to be pretty much true. Now, and that's why he came to be known as Snowflake Blakely. But one of the things this reminds us of, it reminds us about how each person is different and unique and therefore very, very special, each one of you. But also it reminds us of something else. You see a big pile of snow and it just looks like a big lump. But if you look long enough and if you look carefully enough, you'll be astonished at how beautiful and individual each thing in this world is. So I hope you remember that, and I hope you remember about Snowflake Blakely. And now we're going to sing you out, Go Now in Peace, so you can go and work on your pageant. Is that right? Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the Spirit of God surround you. Our Soul Matters theme this month is mystery, and that is our theme this morning as well. And Sherry Gardner on Zoom is going to offer the reading Mysteries, Yes, by Mary Oliver.
Got it. Mysteries, yes. Truly, we live with mysteries, too marvelous to be understood. Grass can be nourishing in the mouths of lambs, how rivers and stones are forever in allegiance with gravity, while we ourselves dream of rising. How two hands touch and the bond will never be broken. How people come from delight or the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem. Let me keep my distance always from those who think they have the answers. Let me keep company always with those who say, look, and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads. Mary Oliver.
It is with great gratitude this morning after that wonderful affair yesterday that we thank you for all you do for this community, all you contribute to its support and its ministries. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received. tension of intention. Spirit of life, mystery beyond our understanding, here we are, living, breathing creatures with minds that wonder and hearts that feel awe. We face questions that we know can't be answered, and tragedies that we know can't be explained. May we find patience in all that is unanswered and peace in all that will never be explained. Here we are, living, breathing creatures with open minds and tender hearts. May we hold ourselves with gentleness, with all that brings us worry and all that makes our hearts break. May the living, breathing creatures that we are feel the breath of life moving in us and through us, bringing us into greater union with the mysterious universe of which we are a part. And now let us enter into the silence. May our hopes and dreams take flight on the wings of love. And I'll have to share that attribution later. No well-known figure, excuse me, no well-known figure more often is taken to represent the Unitarian stream of our tradition than Ralph Waldo Emerson. In fact, many assume that he really represents and comes out of the highly rational stream of much of our theology, 19th century theology. After all, he left the ministry over communion so as not to observe it, and giving a figurative flip of the hand to traditional concepts of divinity, he said, if triangles had gods, they would be triangles. I always think of Emerson when I see that old cartoon of the kindergarten child who's drawing away on her art project when the teacher asks what she's drawing. I'm drawing God, she replies. The teacher pauses, then observes, but nobody knows what God looks like. And without missing a breath, the girl says, they will in a minute. Yet Emerson was part of a 19th century transcendentalist movement which sought tapping a greater transcendent spiritual reality, a group of writers, thinkers, and theologians who had decidedly mystic or mystical leanings. Emerson wrote, and listen to these words, in the woods, standing on the bare ground, my head bathed by the blithe air and uplifted into infinite space, all mean egotism vanishes. I become a transparent eyeball. I am nothing. I see all. The currents of the universal being circulate through me. I am part or parcel of God. Emerson, as a transparent eyeball, it's not what usually appears in quick biographical summaries of his life, but it reveals why he has endured as a seminal figure in the American life of the mind and the life of the soul. He and his compatriots were pushing past the tight strictures of that window of 19th century hyper-rationality. In fact, it was Emerson who took to task the overly intellectual bent of his own faith, referring to the cold corpse of Unitarianism and urging his Unitarian colleagues to preach through the fire of life. That's what they wanted. They wanted thought passed through the fire of life. It's important to make room for that mystical stream in our legacy, because if we do not, we risk neglecting an important part of human experience and offering people a very partial response to the incredible, terrifying, wondrous, painful, joyful journey that we make on this earth together, responding to the complexity of life, its layers, celebrating it, mourning it, ritualizing it, affirming it, sitting with its questions. That's a significant part of the purpose of a religious community in 2023, just as much as in 1923 or 1823. Maybe more so. We live in a culture that's drained of spirit by a relentless focus on getting and spending and sending, on work and achievement, a culture that longs, or where people long, to touch and celebrate the deeper experiences of life, and if not here, where? To make room For mystery is in no way to deny science or knowledge or reason or truth, all of which will remain central in our faith tradition's understanding of the world. It's simply to acknowledge and honor the whole of it, the whole of it. For the experience of mystery is far from uncommon. When I was an adolescent, I had reached the point of rejecting the paternalistic judging God of my Southern Baptist church. Nothing about it rang true for me, but I was stuck on where rejection often lands you, the binary of assuming you either went with the program or you just rejected it all and were left kind of floating. Aware as adolescents are of mortality, and with the old assurances of a better world not really speaking to me, I was asking myself, is this all there is? That's a question that's asked so often. Is this all there is? How could the brief few years we spend on earth be all there is? But one day, and I can't remember my exact age, my extended family had traveled to a place I've mentioned to you before this fall, our favorite swimming place on the Little Pigeon River in the Great Smoky Mountains. And I think I described to you how the rapids flow down from one side to a clear, deep pool of water that we swam in before they move on downstream. The mountain water was very, very cold, and on this particular day, I had swum to the rock and back. And now I was standing on that rocky shore, for some reason wanting to be by myself off to the side, and I was shivering and waiting for the sun to warm me up enough to move again. My whole body was covered in pins and needles. Now, some might say that I was on the verge of hypothermia, but it would be too simple to explain the next few moments with pure physiology. As I stood there, the rushing water grew preternaturally loud, and the colors, all the colors of the shore intensified. I remember as if it were yesterday, raising my eyes to the patch of brilliant blue sky above the tall trees lining the banks, and suddenly merging with the world. While I could not have put it into words, I knew that I stood on that spot of earth both in the past and the future, untethered by time or direction. There was no up or down or me or the world, just all. And at that moment, I belonged to the earth in some way I had never known before. I felt closer to the depth that might be called divine, my sense of the world more real than it ever had been during either my flirtations or my quarrels with a human-made theology. Those few moments were some of the most intense and nearly indescribable in my life. They were a mystic experience, but they also contributed to an eventual tectonic shift in my theology and my perspective. Because over the years, I moved from wondering, is this all there is, to relishing that bottomless well of amazement at all that is. From is this all there is to astonishment at all there is. And you know, many of you, what I mean. When you look at the images of the far distant reaches of the universe, the galaxies and seemingly endless stars, the worlds we know not of yet, you wonder. And by wonder, I mean stand in awe of all that is. Catch a glimpse of a quaking aspen tree colony that has survived for hundreds of thousands of years, or contemplate splitting an atom, and surely you are amazed. If we gaze at a newborn child, especially one dear to us, even while knowing the science of reproduction and understanding the innate instinct in our species to survive, it's hard to consider that child with anything less than astonishment. And yes, so many of us know, be with someone who is dying, stroke their face and tell them they are loved. And you may well find something sacred, not just in the beginning, but in the ending and the whole cycle of our lives. Kent Nerburn puts it this way: when all the words have been written and all the phrases have been spoken, the great mystery of life will still remain. We may map the terrains of our lives, measure the farthest reaches of the universe, but no amount of searching will ever reveal for certain whether we are all children of chance or part of a great design. And who among us would have it otherwise? Can we embrace that mystery, even the uncertainty of it, perhaps even finding it richer, more promising than definitive answers to ultimate questions? I would go further than Nerburn. I no longer wonder about chance or design very much. And years ago, I confess to you, I gave up being interested in the question, does God, whatever God is, exist? Instead, the more compelling questions now are, how do we respond to all that is? How do we live fully and faithfully in the face of it? How do we celebrate and honor our place in it? And how do we let that which touches the infinite be sacred without attaching all kinds of baggage to it? Perhaps there's no better answer than Mary Oliver's look and laugh in astonishment. Given my own experience, it should not have come as a surprise to me many years later how nearly universal, or at least very common, such experiences are during one of my interim ministries. When we processed as a congregation how the congregation might more fully live its purpose and mission, several people, more than I anticipated, said they wish there could be more God talk. And I didn't know quite what they meant by that, but that winter I offered several sessions of a small group based around images of the divine. And in our own version of Lectio Divina, we would read a meditation or a poem about the sacred. Silently, then aloud, they would write quietly about what it evoked for them. And then if they chose, they would share their writing. The meetings were rich and they built trust. In one of our last sessions, I talked briefly about this experience that I just described to you, and then I let it sit in silence. And after a while, someone said, I had an experience like that, but I've never talked about it. And voice breaking, she did. And then someone else remembered their own in a very different sphere of life. And by the end of that session, nearly everyone in the room had spoken of a mystical moment in their lives. And I realized these people were not asking, is that all there is? And looking for some pat answer. Having known the sacred and feeling a longing as old as humanity to look at mystery, they were seeking a language for it, a language of reverence, a language that honors the sacredness of this world. While our non-dualistic faith is what attracts people like you and me to Unitarian Universalism, writes Reverend Kathy to Ricky, we might also accept that truth and meaning we are called to seek can be ascertained not only by knowledge and reason, but through the heart, the soul, through deepest contemplation or highest conscience, in letting in the mystery, in being comfortable with not knowing, in embracing the ineffable. We must take our minds down from their pedestal and inhabit the rest of our body now and then. Try taking a deep bow or engage in a downward dog pose. Get the head below the heart, which is the first step toward humility. When every gateway to information has a subscription price or an agenda at a time, when we struggle to figure out how to survive, we need so very much to relish those experiences, those insights that sustain us against all change, moments when the Spirit knows something deeper than the rapid currents of our days. Let us be open in the best of times and the worst of times to the moments that send us into the joyful astonishment at all that is. Including beautiful sound of a child's voice. I would invite you to rise in body and spirit, or spirit, whatever is available to you, and join in singing number 126 in the Gray Book, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. of deep belonging settle upon you. The abundance of life's goodness surround you. Beloveds, may the mystery envelop you, the wonder embrace you, the breath of life flow through you always. Those words are by Stephen Garmus Holmes.